I've lost more trees than I can count out here on my 320 acres in far west Texas. Rats, rabbits, heat, and my own mistakes have killed much of my efforts. But this year, something's different. I'm actually seeing trees thrive, and it's all because of this strange $40 box. When I started building my desert forest, I consistently tried to do the minimum amount of work required to get an acceptable outcome. And what I found over and over again is that I could never accurately judge the minimum level of effort. Therefore, I failed a lot. Groasis is the completely opposite approach. It's kind of like switching from living in a tent to living in a sheltered cabin. This video is not sponsored by Groasis. This is just an honest review of my experience and how it advances my goal of building a desert forest. Dave, a viewer like yourself, really wanted me to try these. Groasis has a channel where they document how this works and why it works and how to use the product. So that's what I did. And I'm already pretty invested in this. We did all the work to make this happen, buying the seeds, making a local potting soil to reduce transplant shock, getting them to germinate, which is really hard out here, and then, of course, keeping them alive for 3 months before we transplant them using the grow boxes. I don't want to cut corners when I'm already pretty invested in these starts. Greetings from the Dustups nursery. We have what feels like a small storm blowing in. There are a couple of raindrops falling, nothing major yet. But I did want to show you guys all the trees growing in here because some of them are getting large enough that they need to be transplanted immediately, and I need a plan for that. Now, the best plan I have is the Groasis water boxes, or the Oasis grow box that Dave sent me. He donated 10 of them, and I had purchased 2 a couple of years ago. I just haven't had a chance to use them. I have yellowhorn and mulberry and blue palo verde that is at risk of sending its taproot as deep as the pot, and that is going to eliminate future growth opportunities. So I need to get these trees transplanted much sooner than I expected. I thought I'd have another month. So we don't have many survivors because these were massively overwatered, but we do have these 2 yellowhorn that are surviving. We have a handful of these blue palo verde that are doing fine, and then the mulberry is going nuts. This area flooded and was completely buried in water last time I was here, and it killed a lot of the trees. We can't keep the trees on the ground because whenever we do get a rain and this thing floods, it just drowns the trees. They like water, but not that much. Not all the trees from the nursery are the ones that we're going to use. Chris, who you already have seen, he gave me mostly mesquite, but he also has this prairie crabapple. There's not a lot to see right now because it's mainly a stick, and there's just a couple of leaves on here. But this prairie crabapple, we want to give it a good shot. But most of the trees I grabbed are stuff that has to be planted right away. So like these mulberries, I knew to look at them, and you can see the little root growing at the bottom there, and all of these plants are starting to send roots, which means that we got to get them in the ground as fast as possible, and putting them in Groasis grow box is going to keep them reasonably sheltered. Groasis filmed a great demonstration video near Dubai where they used the grow box in pretty much the most inhospitable spot you could pick, the desert sands of the Arabian Peninsula. And what I took away from the video is just how critical the soil preparation is. He didn't just plant a tree, stick a grow box on top, and call it good. Instead, he mixed 50% compost with local material. He then watered the area to build a water column in the now loose material, and after planting the trees, he then builds up the soil around the tree to prevent evaporation. To start, I'm going to dig with the mini excavator so we can add some soil amendments in the immediate vicinity of the trees.
About 30 grams. And the rest of it go in here.
The water's all drained. I really don't think this is gonna work. I think the material's too cemented, but let's give it a shot. All right, let's go look at drill bits. Barely loosened up like maybe the top fraction of an inch. Daniel mentioned the episode where we used his drill to dig into the side of the cliff and it blasted through it even better than my rock hammer drill. So, let's see if we can find the bit again.
Let's see how this does. All right, it just went through, so. I think that might be a rock.
I can't imagine the odds. What are, how unlucky to find a rock.
You know, Shannon and I could probably put together a plan, since there's holes in here,
Yeah.
that might make it more beneficial, that it'll fracture it, like we
Yeah.
pack it with ammonal and then bury it,
Yeah.
and then ignite it,
Yeah.
and then we just dig it back up.
This is what's dangerous about knowing people that know about explosives. But let me go do some research and figure out if this is a bad idea. I knew we were going to hit some caliche, but I didn't think
But
it'd
I
be this
didn't think
bad.
it was that close, though.
Yeah, I
'Cause,
thought it'd be deeper.
Brandon didn't hit until a couple feet
Till
down.
3 or 4 feet. Yeah.
And this is right here.
Yeah, it just, I don't know, it's luck of the draw sometimes. Caliche is common throughout the arid and semi-arid areas of the world. Desert soils are really high in calcium carbonate. I know my soil is high in calcium because of all the caliche I'm dealing with, but I also know this from soil tests that I ran when I bought the property. According to Texas A&M that did my test, Dustups has 8,900 parts per million of plant available calcium. When rain falls in most parts of the desert, it's not absorbed very deeply. As water travels through the first meter of soil, it gathers minerals like calcium and brings them a little deeper down. But then the sun and the wind come back and they evaporate all of the water inside the top 2 centimeters or 2 feet of soil. But the dissolved calcium doesn't evaporate with it, it stays behind. And now, because it was dissolved in water, it forms these tiny little crystals that bond to sand, much like cement and sand bond to form concrete.
I hate that stuff. Like, soon as it's broken, it's soft and you can crumble.
Yeah.
But you have to break it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to drill through.
Caliche is very similar to concrete. Trees can't get through caliche once it's fully cemented. And that's why I'm using a drill to break through the caliche. All of this work would be a total waste of time if I didn't break up this cemented caliche. I'm hoping, and I believe, that I removed enough near these saplings that they'll be able to send taproots down and get down to where there's a more consistent amount of moisture. So what do you think? Do you think I broke up enough for the trees to get down and make it for the long run? One thing I do really well on the Dustups project is I test everything. We have soil tests, we have manure tests. When you quantify everything, it makes it easier to know what to do next. I do the same thing with my body using Function Health. I just received my initial test results, and although there are things that are going well, my body is really inflamed from high cholesterol, and it's showing up across the board in my creatinine in my kidneys or my total iron binding capacity from my liver. Everything heart related is sky high, and I have a family history of pretty much every living male relative died in their 60s, and I'm keen to not repeat the pattern. There's some important changes that I'm going to make to my supplementation with curcumin and fiber and omega-3s. I would not have known to do that if I hadn't tested. I love not having to guess, knowing that it's literally my life on the line and I'm 20 years away from when most of the men in my family die. This is the time to make sure that I don't put wear on my body that's not necessary. So I can make some I'm going to make dietary changes, but I am going to add some supplements because it's quick and easy, and I don't feel like eating fish. I just know I need the benefits of eating fish. So at least without Function Health, I wouldn't have known to make the changes or what changes I needed to make. It's a no-brainer. If you want to be around for your family and for your kids, get tested. For anybody, there's probably minor tweaks to your health that you can make that are going to keep you around for the long run. So even if you think you're taking care of yourself, maybe you should prove it. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code that you see on the screen. That'll take you to Function Health and help you make wiser choices for your body and ultimately for your family. When you check out, make sure to use the code Dustups100 for a $100 credit towards your order. We'll add water into this hole while we drill in the hydrogel. We have some worm castings that graciously donated by a viewer. And biochar, oh yeah. We'll do 2 full shovels. Now we're gonna have to really mix that well.
Luckily, this is kind of wet. The
biochar?
The biochar.
Good, it means the biology should be a little active. It occurred to me during my lunch break that we're burying stuff. And we have all of this cardboard that we've been saving. Maybe we ought to use it. So what I do need to do is just make sure that I don't find a rattlesnake. Make them real mad. I'm just gonna sit in the crate and tear cardboard. Yeah, I don't blame you too, buddy. This shade is mine. I will share if you want, but I'm not moving. The primary goal of the soil preparation is establishing capillary water in the soil. And I used to think about water in the ground as, well, it's water in the ground. How's that complicated? But if you have water stuck in one spot in a saturated zone where water takes up all the space in between the sand, that water is essentially useless to plants because roots have to have oxygen and water in order to survive. They don't grow where there's no oxygen. What we're trying to establish isn't just trees, we're trying to establish capillary water in the soil. That's water that moves between the pores or the space in between the sand grains. Capillary water is completely available to roots because it also facilitates oxygen. All of this work that Daniel and I have done to make a custom soil mix and put it right under where the tree is going to grow is counterproductive temporarily because it destroys capillary action. That seems completely counterintuitive that by making a better soil, you remove the ability of water to move in the soil, but that's what happens. We made it so soft and so fluffy that water immediately goes into all the empty space and it creates a saturated zone, and it displaces all of the oxygen. By pouring water over the top of the prepared area, it helps build new channels through the soil. After we push enough water through the amended soil, we reestablish little tunnels for the water to travel and stay and leave enough room to support oxygen. Groasis used 50% compost in their work. I did have some compost available along with worm castings, but my primary amendment was activated biochar. This actually looks fertile and healthy. I only have fresh manure, and I didn't want to risk using fresh manure because it can burn or shock the trees. I felt like using the biochar was lower risk. Most of what we're doing when we add soil amendments is adding organic material, which is carbon. Carbon is barely existent in the soil. By adding different sources of carbon directly where we're planting the tree, compost, worm castings, biochar, even fresh manure, it's all different forms of carbon. One of the key benefits is the carbon helps establish capillary water. And the capillary water supports the fungal networks that most of these trees use to produce nitrogen from the air. Then the stronger fungal networks produce healthier trees. It's a virtuous cycle. Okay guys, let's go take a look at the trees we have available to plant. Some of them look amazing. The yellowhorn has really responded to the increase in light. It wasn't that green yesterday. Some of these Palo Verde look like they're doing okay. This is blue Palo Verde, but the mulberry you can see is wilting a little bit in the sun. So I might just make like a pallet A-frame, and that'll probably be enough to harden them off, but because they're used to the wind, but not the sun. All right, so let's do a yellow horn and a mulberry.
This one right here?
Yeah. That's it. And we'll go in our little, I'm just gonna walk in through the French drain into the soak pit. So we'll want to build the soil up around the tree, and we'll want the level of the tree to be about here. We're planting 2 mulberries in one. They have to be right next to each other.
Okay.
We want a lot of material in here soaking, but I kind of want to build almost like a volcano for like of dirt, so that these are like sort of below the soil but not sunk all the way down.
Right.
Like we want the water going around it, not directly on it. I apologize for the camera angle, but we're having to use the mini excavator as the shade because the camera won't stay on. So it's gonna live in this perch right here. And hopefully we can catch this on film. I do want this as a reference. Okay, this one can get planted here.
So you're gonna cut off the bottom, pull that off, set it, and just kind of slide it up?
Yeah, well, we're gonna build the soil around it and then slowly slide it up.
Okay, I'm tracking now.
The last part of the grow box is what makes it so effective, and that's the holes in the middle. It's acting like a mulch, preventing the wind and the sun from evaporating the water that is now safely establishing itself, not just at the surface, but forming a cone or a water column through the capillaries nice and deep to where we want the taproot growing. Partially burying the grow box prevents the water from absorbing too much heat in the day, and that prevents water from evaporating from the water container.
I guess we can kind of halfway do it now to shade it.
Yeah.
And then as long as we have enough room to work in the next hole.
Yeah, exactly.
That takes a lot of water. How many gallons is that, do you know?
5.
5 gallons? All right.
And then we'll see how this responds in the next couple hours. And if it's still wilting, we'll give it some shade cloth. Mulberry perked up. You can already see it looks dramatically better. Water and shade. It'll toughen up over time.
How long does it stay filled for, generally speaking, out here?
10 months.
10 months?
Yeah. It only loses 50 milliliters a day through that wick.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
The whole idea behind it working is that the wick drops moisture and it forms a water column in the shape of a cone.
Right.
Or so I'm told. It sounds legit. And I'm inclined to believe it. The yellow horn went really well, and I'm delighted because it just looks so healthy.
Yeah, it does.
We just found the telescoping tubes. This avoids needing to build any more of those A-frames. And obviously this is going to be even more secure against rabbits and varmints that I have to deal with. Not the fastest thing in the world, but I do like this design. This is pretty cool. I'm going to go against my dude nature. I'm going to read the directions this time. It doesn't say anything about the telescoping tool, but we should be facing the holes east-west instead of north-south. I don't think they're going to have a hard time with light out here, but who knows?
So is the hose supposed to let light in, or is it supposed to
Heat out. This is why I have to do it right the first time, because whether it's software development or making a desert forest, I know if I don't do it right now while I'm doing it, it ain't going to happen. There we go. And I won't do more so that I don't get all the dirt in the grow box. They're huge, whatever kind of bee they are. I would have said a bumblebee, but I know it doesn't look like a bumblebee. Probably came from quite a way away.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of look like bumblebee, like the shape and color, but they don't have the stripes like a bumblebee.
That might be too much. I'm going on break. there's steak. The trees are doing amazing. This is by far the best success that I've had on the ranch. I would love to go whole hog on this Groasis strategy, but I cannot let the idea of starting from seed go, just from the amount of work that it takes to follow the Groasis method. If I can get seeds started and established successfully where they're going to live permanently, it cuts out a whole bunch of work. It's obviously preferred. And we made a whole bunch of progress on that we're going to talk about next week, where I've been able to get all of this green growth growing on the terrace, and I want to talk about how we were able to make that happen. However, I love these grow boxes, and if I do need to scale this, the money starts to work out. The price for a pallet of these right now is $20 each, and that comes with 200 units. The lifespan of these is 10 years, so it works out to $2 a year. You could have found out about this Groasis project several months ago. I keep everybody updated in Team Dustups, where there's behind the scenes footage and photographs and blog posts talking about all the happenings on the ranch in real time. Scan the QR code or click the link that you see on the screen. That'll take you to the link to sign up to Team Dustups. I use those funds to support the ranch. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.